Well, I started in around TI4, got into it from the free-to-play doco. I pretty early on, I developed an interest for mid. I think it was just because of Dendi, and then I stayed a mid player for a long while, while also flexing a bit into +1 carry. But after I've had some like pretty long breaks, and then after I came back the last time, I decided to try and focus on being a +5 player because I never really given it any like sort of effort, and I found it working quite well. And then when I came back again, I was like, well, I was a +5 player last time, I'll do it again, and I was pretty mediocre. I actually calibrated lower than I was before, despite the fact that I won 7 games and lost 3. I don't know how that works, but yeah, I was struggling, and then but I was kind of anxious to go back to mid, and then when I did, I just started winning and winning and winning. I'm like, well,
Hmm.
I can't say no then.
Like judging by
No,
just
actually, we thought the same thing actually, but
hmm.
no, it's not. Let's take a mid. It's it's a little more interesting than that.
Hmm. So that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Like we have to predict who's coming mid, right? And then we
That's very
decide
true.
what skill we have to take based on our prediction, right? And know that we could be wrong. That is why we were saving our skill point, right? So imagine you're not Templar Assassin, but because you're a mid player, of course you sometimes have to pick Quap, Coin of Pain, right? And there are a lot of different ways to play Quap. Sometimes they go for Scream of Pain at level 1, sometimes they go for the Shadow Strike at level 1, right? So it really depends on how you want to play, and it also depends on how the lineup goes, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, just save your skill point. Almost always. There's no need for doing this every game, right? So that was a small thing that I want to point out right away. So do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about why you did this as your starting item?
Well, I mean, I don't really think about. I don't really know how to itemize well for the start, so I just go something generic because the branch for the tangos, I don't have to walk to the trees, and then it's like an
Good.
extra HP regen, so it's more like 3 tangos. Fairy fire because obviously it's so crucial for like early trades. Plus the damage is great. And I'm going to be building into 2 wraith bands anyway, so
Great.
this is just
Okay.
a very generic sort of build. I don't really know how to think about how I'm going to change my build other than the obvious buy a stick if you're against like Zeus or whatever.
Okay. So I know that we have to just watch the game, but before we do it, let me ask you: were you like, have you ever thought about, like at the very start of the game? I think this is what almost every TA player should do. Do we go Desolator this game, or was there anything in your mind that?
I was so recently I'd been talking about I did go Desolator this game. Recently I don't really have that much of that thought process because I don't understand or know off the top of my head like the armor values of heroes. So I went Blink first this game, and I was planning on doing that. And I was planning on doing that pretty much regardless of the heroes, just for the fact that I've been wanting to focus on split pushing this game. Because the previous game I played, the other replay ID I gave you, the coach, he was waiting in queue and watched my game, and he started messaging me and just told me where to go, what lanes for a bit of the game. And then I was split pushing like crazy, and team fights that we were losing were turning into like tier 2 objective sort of thing. At one point I would have taken racks from a lost team fight if I just decided to, you know, push the advantage instead of pussyfooting around, which I did. So,
Good. Okay.
but I felt like the Blink Dagger would be more helpful than the Deso as the first item in that
For this
regard.
game, right? You're saying for this game, Blink Dagger is better.
No, just generally, if I
Generally.
wanted to focus on the split pushing. As in,
Split pushing.
I just wanted to like do the split pushing, and the Blink Dagger gave me that sort of safety for TPing out.
Yeah. So we're gonna
I
spend.
know that I shouldn't always go Blink Dagger first.
Yeah, good job. Because we're gonna spend a lot of time. Like I'm gonna be spending with you a lot of time asking that question. Do you want to get Desolator? I will ask you the question, and it is your job to have your own logic. And if it is flawed, then I'll be like, telling you some stuff. So here's the thing. We should always be really like almost be suffering to answer ourselves. Do we get Desolator first, or do we get Blink Dagger first? If you were Templar Assassin. So what happens if you get Desolator? If I may ask you, if you get Desolator as your starting item, as your first core item, what happens to the game?
Well, I have to become a lot more reliant on my supports because I don't have the link initiation, so I have to have time to walk up to someone. So that would require other forms of CC. In this case, we don't really have much CC from the other cores. Abaddon has a bit of a slow, but he does, doesn't he? Is it with passive or with his Q? Yeah, the passive. Yeah, so I'm kind of reliant on. I can't really rely on that, so I'd have to be relying on the line or the CM for the CC for me to get into range. So it would be especially more helpful if I was team fighting frequently and I didn't desperately have to kill a backliner, which I don't think would be the case here because they don't really have. They're all melee. The only backliner they have is Ogre, and once Ogre's popped his 3 spells, he's like not that impactful in a fight.
Okay, so let me ask you a little bit more. It would be a bigger question. How do you win this game?
Well, we've got the anti-mage, so we're definitely relying on late game. We would want to outfarm them and at least keep some control of the mid game, because obviously they're going to have a very strong mid game. They've got like Sven, they've got Breaker, and they've got Spectre, so they've got Global. Honestly, they're all like global to some extent, except for Sven and Ogre. So if Sven and Ogre are anywhere, the other 3 team members can get to where they are pretty bloody fast. Because Bloodseeker like runs like a fucking NASCAR. So
you mentioned about when I asked you how do I win, how do you win this game? You said anti-mage, right? And I completely agree. Anti-mage is the guy. Like every time we send anti-mage, we win through him, right? So how does anti-mage win the game?
By having enough space to farm safely for a long amount of time. So does that mean I would want to shift my focus towards a more space creating play style rather than a like a farm oriented play style, and then leave the farming to him?
Great.
And then do full protect 1?
Yes, agreed, man.
Cool.
Great job.
I was doing not that this game. Because I was just like, it was unranked. Oh no, this was ranked actually, but I was still trying to focus on the split pushing to improve my own farm.
So do you see how powerful it can become, like asking the question to myself and I try to answer it, and you did it yourself. I didn't say anything, right? I asked you, what do you think you should get? You said Desolator or Blink Dagger. You were like trying to compare between those two. You were mentioning about, oh, they can do that, I can do this. And I asked you later, how do I win? And you said, if I could do this. You used to mention of anti-mage, so I asked you, how does he win? And you said, oh, he needs some space to get a fast battle free. Like, and then so you then arrived to the conclusion by yourself, oh, then I should play Space Maker style, right? So that's it, man. Like you got there. This is how strong this is. Thinking process, right?
I feel something that I kind of struggle with though. So I do like in-house scrims, and when I'm playing those, I feel like really switched on sort of thing. Like I can think like that. I can even think outside the box. But when I'm in like a queue against or with and against people I don't know, I just can't think like that. My brain just kind of stops working, and I don't know why I can't like think about it quite as well. I need a list of questions to ask myself on the side of my computer if I was going to do this sort of thing.
So start doing what I just did, right? Asking the questions at the very beginning of the draft. When you enter the game, when you just press the accept the game, right? That's where actually the games are started. Like then, and of course, once you pick TA, that's usually your 4th pick or the 5th pick, right? Then that's exactly where you start to design the game. How do I win? What do I do? Like how should I itemize this game? What should be my playstyle to win the game, right? If you start doing that as soon as you picked during the drafting phase, then you actually have time to think, right? Whereas if you're just like the rest of the people in this bracket, just I'm gonna play and click, kill, and then eventually, like, I mean, if do I go Desolator? Okay, because I think it's cool, right? If we're doing that, then we're really screwed up because we don't know, right? We don't know, and that's exactly what I'm telling you. It's really difficult for us to do that while we are playing the game. Like we are distracted. We have to lost it. We have to deny. We have to pay attention to the minimap. We have to communicate with our allies. We have to check the rune. We have to pay attention to the timeout to see if we can stack it. A lot of things are happening, so it is not humanly possible for us to like make the right call as we are playing the game. So whenever your time allows you to do it, because right now we're not doing anything other than just hanging around here like this, right? This is where everything starts, right? And if you had that thinking process, then you already know what to do, right? Yeah, you're clicking around, and I feel like I would want to believe that as you are doing this, you're thinking something, right?